In Her Shoes Through Her Eyes by Sharon Levett. The sister's voice wasn't words anymore. It was the sound of the windshield shattering, 1,000 jagged syllables cutting into her skin. Each and if was a piece of glass she had been picking out of her heart for years. "You're just confused, honey, he didn't mean to," became, "You're a liar, get out of this house," until the voices were a single, high-pitched ringing in the mother's ears. The world was a series of white flashes and the smell of burnt air. She didn't feel her finger moving. She only felt the ghost of her sister's voice being pushed back, further and further, until it was buried under the floorboards. Click, click, click. The sound of the empty gun was the first quiet thing she had heard in 20 years. She looked at the wall, then at the floor, and finally at her daughter. The bleed was gone. There was only the red on the carpet and the terrifying, beautiful silence of a lie that had finally been killed. The mother reached down, her fingers trembling slightly, and found her daughter's hand. They laced their fingers together, a tight, unbreakable knot. Behind them, the house was a cage they had finally broken. In front of them, the road was dark and uncertain, but for the first time in 20 years they were walking it together, in her shoes and through their own eyes. Wrong Raised Part 2. The tragedy here is twofold: the horror of the crimes themselves, and the realization that her impoverished upbringing was actually her mother's heroic attempt to provide a life, all despite such devastation. Though it leaves her nothing but old shoes or mundane household items, she might initially be angry. But after the secret is revealed, those items become relics of survival. Her older brother knew his silence wasn't a betrayal of her, but a final act of protection, the same protection their mother offered. They decide to keep the secret from the younger 7. They are honoring the blood spilled on that day. They decide that the younger siblings should never know that their entire world was built on such a violent foundation. She looks in the mirror and no longer sees a failure of a mother. She sees a survivor. She flashes back to a specific time she screamed at her mother for being pathetic, realizing now that her mother was likely dissociating or grieving in that moment.